9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All systems go.
You're listening. On the morning shift.
Anything
could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
Well, welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh. Glad to be here with you. Thankful that you're here with us. What a weird technological morning we're having today. On purpose or not, whether it's just people behind the scenes hacking in, or it's just the incompetence of technology itself happening on 3 of my 4 devices this morning. Just things that just never happen. On the main one I came on, and then, yeah, if I told you all the things, it would take up the whole show. But you know what? It's a miracle every morning. We're able to eventually have a show, and we're looking forward to our conversation this morning with our special guests. They haven't been on for a bit. Bob Johnston and Tom Price. It's always a great conversation when they're on the show. Looking forward to chatting with them. We're just going to dive in with a little bit of weather first, then we'll be back with them. Basically, they are, well, especially Bob at the moment is the news headlines, the local news headlines, and he's also one of our special guests today too. So that will be the news headlines that we're going to be covering, because the news is covering his mayoral candidacy along with Paul LaFave's and Bill LeDuc. So we'll talk about how the media is covering the mayoral race and maybe just local politics in general, and how have we been talking about the media this last week, and federally anyways, how the media has come right out and said, yes, we're biased. We got Mark Carney's back and he's got ours, and they just got an extra $100 million in funding. So that's the way Mark Carney shows that he's got their back, and the way that they show they got his back is that they just publish and broadcast the most favorable news that they can on his behalf, and demonize anyone that isn't part of his party, right? And so they've come right out, and if you say, what are you talking about? That's impossible. The media doesn't do that. Well, you just got to go back and watch yesterday's show and the day before's show, and you can kind of fast forward halfway through if you want. And, you know, I had a client yesterday or the other day, and I was showing him the show because I said, hey, did you hear the media just came out and said, hey, we got Mark Carney's back, you know, publicly. And then they scrubbed it off the internet as fast as they could, but couldn't scrub it fast enough for it to actually get out there. Well, you know, he was beside himself because he's a liberal voter, right? And he's like, wow, I didn't realize that. I said, yeah, when you watch CTV, you watch CBC Global, you name it, any of the mainstream media, they're all bought and paid for to the tune of billions of your taxpayers' dollars. Why would they hold them accountable after that? We are living in a communistic style world when that is the case, when the media becomes an arm of the government. It's propaganda at its finest, and that's the world we live in Canada. And we're live on CKLU 96.7 FM on the radio. We're also streaming live at cklu.ca. We are streaming live at facebook.com/Sudbury News everywhere in the world except for Sudbury and Canada, due to those federal policies that prohibit news from being shared, posted, anything on the world's largest social media platform, which is Facebook. In Canada, it's the only country in the world that allows its citizens to use this particular software. However, you can use it, but you can't post news and you can't share it, and you definitely can't give your opinion about it. Nothing to see here. Now, for the time being, we are still on youtube.com/Sudbury News in Sudbury, in Canada, until something happens where that's not even possible. But for now, you can watch us on YouTube and see the show right after on demand on YouTube, along with x.com/Sudbury News, excuse me, and Sudbury.news, which is our local news aggregator. We're going to just kick things off with a little bit of weather, and then we're looking forward to our conversation with Bob and Tom right after this. Stay tuned. It's going to be a great show, I promise, or your money back. And Sudbury weather brought to you by SudburyWeather.ca. As usual, it is currently -9 degrees out there. A little, we have a little blip of more moderate temperatures today, but that's not lasting very long. Currently, it's -16 with the wind chill. However, today there will be periods of snow late this morning, then cloudy. Risk of snow squalls in the afternoon. Local blowing snow in the afternoon as well. Amount 2 centimeters. The wind will be gusting up to 60 kilometers near noon, bringing in a whole new front. The high of -5 will only last for a while, and then -15 this afternoon. The wind chill will feel like -29 by the time the afternoon, by the time that front comes through. Risk of frostbite, local blowing snow this evening as well, gusting to 50 kilometers per hour, the wind, and then low of -24, -29 in the evening, -35 overnight. That's just the low with the wind chill, -35. That's crazy. Risk of frostbite. And then Saturday, mainly sunny, wind chill, -36 in the morning, -24 in the afternoon. So still cold. And then overnight, it'll be -26 as well. So cold coming in after the little milder blip overnight and this morning. And then Sunday, you'll have a 40% chance of flurries, high of -14. Monday, -9, 40% chance of flurries, 30% chance of flurries on Tuesday, -5, -4 on Wednesday. So a little milder again for the beginning of next week. 40% chance of flurries on Wednesday, 40% chance of flurries on Thursday with a high of -4 as well. That's your Sudbury weather, brought to you by SudburyWeather.ca. Back with our news headline of the day, I guess, which is the people that have put their hat in the ring to run for mayor, one of which we have ready to come on right after. This is Bob Johnston, along with Tom Price, to talk about issues that we're having in the city and how the media is covering the mayoral race so far. We'll be back right after this. Okay, we are back as promised. We have quite a few people joining us on the show, and this morning we'd love to give some morning shout outs, but we're just going to put it up on the screen. So comment on YouTube if you can, and if Bob and Tom are able to see some of the comments on there, they might be able to speak to any questions or comments that are put up on the screen, but we can't promise anything because, in the middle of a conversation, it's not always the easiest to read the comments that are coming on. But that's the great thing about the show being on demand. You can go back and the conversation can continue as you can put your comments in the comment section below. Okay, without further ado, it's not my favorite phrase of the world, but but good morning, Bob. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing not too bad. Your phone screen, the quality of your picture and everything looks great, looks fabulous. So good on getting a new phone. It's always a process, right? When you got to set everything up again.
Exactly. We're very glad though to be back on. We miss all the listeners and so on, and we're looking for one heck of a year.
Yeah. So let's dive right in. You've thrown your hat in the ring to run for mayor for this next election. this October 26th, I believe. And you have ran for mayor previously. And, so right off the bat, the media, there's been a lot of media, more than expected for just right at the beginning with people just announcing that they're running. There's been a lot. Like there's hit pieces out from councillors on Bill Leduc saying, look, he's not the guy for the job, his fellow councillors. And then they're saying, not like the mayor. The mayor is great. And Councillor Leduc has got all these black marks against him. And then you got Sudbury.com doing an article on you saying you're not commenting, but then they just fill in the blanks for you and say previous things that you might have said, not in a very positive light as well. And then you have social media such as the Facebook page from Chelmsford, which has put you and Paul Lefebvre and Bill Leduc side by side. And I had that here ready to go. And then it said page can't be displayed anymore. So when I was on it, so I don't know why. I don't know if someone took that off, but I know I shared it on. So I might be able to go grab the picture somehow. But can you speak to some of your experiences you've had as of late, just throwing your hat in the ring?
Yeah, it's been a up and down roller coaster, but I really can't believe how the truth can hurt somebody so bad. Like I got Chelmsford where I got fired from the city, et cetera, et cetera. I got Valley East today who said, sorry, I got to block you, Bob, because you're running for mayor. It's been ridiculous. And then we got Tyler Clark, who likes his once upon a time stories. In 2022, he jumped the gun right away. He said that I was getting violated from the Election Act due to breaking rules and so on and so on. I broke no rules. I did not get violated, et cetera, et cetera. But that's one reporter who should be doing his homework before he even talks to anybody in the public, which he does not follow up with facts.
Well, I've had my own kind of run-ins with that particular, I'm going to just say this as a joke, so-called journalist, because that's what they do in the media a lot of times to discredit somebody. They'll put so-called in front of it, like they said for the Freedom Convoy in Ottawa. A lot of things the media did for that, but they'd say the so-called Freedom Convoy, stuff like that, just to discredit them. And so I just say that as a joke. But I've had my own run-ins. He's written a hit piece on myself and on this show. And I wouldn't doubt it if they were involved with the complaints to Facebook to have us canceled off of Facebook, because I noticed someone from Sudbury.com on my LinkedIn the very day that we were taken off of Facebook. And coincidence? I don't know. There's never been anyone from Sudbury.com on my LinkedIn, and that said someone from Sudbury.com is on your LinkedIn, and then boom, we're off of Facebook that day. So I'm thinking city and Sudbury.com kind of working together. I find Tyler Clark, that's his thing, is to cover the city, and I find him very warm and fuzzy with the city. He doesn't really hold them to account very much, as a journalist kind of should. So it sounds like he's cozied up to them quite well, and not different from anywhere else where the local media has, and the local governments kind of work together to put out the narrative. And we have that federally, as we've shown this last week on the show. Is there anything that he said in that article that you wanted to speak to?
There's a few things. See, I got to watch what I say too, because I know that, like I said, there's a lot of people who don't like the truth, and there's a lot of people who would love to get me kicked out of that election. So I will wait till May. I will give my platform. It is a lot more than just the homeless. The homeless is in my heart, and I will fight for them always. And I would never deny that. But there's a lot more to look into, such as the roads and everything else. Mm-hmm. Now, I just going to pass over the phone to Tom Price for a couple minutes, where he investigated and so on and did his homework. And this is Tom's opinion on this whole situation.
It's always good to get more opinions. It's like, get a second opinion when a doctor gives you a diagnosis or something. Well, at least in the States, you can do that. Canada, there's not enough doctors to be able to do that, and you can barely even get to your own doctor. But it's great to have a second opinion no matter what. And so, Tom, good morning to you. Thanks for being on. How are you?
Good morning, AJ. Oh, I'm just fine, thank you.
Great.
Today, you find me a very curious citizen. I have to wonder how all of the photo op campaigning that these councillors are doing these days for the election in October will be billed to their campaign costs. I'm puzzled by that.
So what are you talking about too exactly? Is this like election fraud or anything like that? Or what are you alluding to?
I don't know what you call it, but when certain media comes out and trashes one candidate and brags about and promotes other candidates, that's campaigning for those candidates. So how does that campaigning get billed to the campaign for those candidates?
Yeah, that's right. Free advertising, right? When you have a journalist out there doing so-called journalism, and they're basically being an activist for one and demeaning the other or demonizing the others. And we've already seen very negative against Bill LeDuc and very negative against Bob Johnston. And then we've seen this one that I've been able to find now. Have you seen the post in the Chelmsford one? I do have it here. I'm going to put it up on the screen because I shared it with Belinda yesterday because I found it, but now it says I'm not able to find it on, it can't be seen.
There it is.
Yeah. So it talks about, I'm trying to see how I can enlarge this. But at the moment I can't, so I'm not sure. It is what it is. Mac and PC operate two totally different ways, and I'm not always good to jump back and forth. So the typing is very small. However, it goes over negative things, which, hey, at least it's keeping it, negative, all negative on all the candidates. So overspending from Paul Lefebvre, you name it, you got that. And then you got Bill LeDuc's, he took the city to court, blah, blah, blah. And then you have Bob Johnston. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's negative. But wait a minute. Former CAO of the city. I was like, wait a minute. I must have missed that somehow. Because I didn't know that Bob was the former CAO of the city. And that kind of struck me as odd, right?
No, Bob Johnston was. He was a temporary CAO after Doug Nadarozny left. Okay.
So not this Bob Johnston, a Bob Johnston was.
Not Bob Johnston, not this one. And this Bob Johnston has never been the CAO. He's never been fired from the city. In fact, I don't think he ever worked for the city. Did you, Bob?
Oh, thank God.
He says, no, thank God. But none of these people check their facts first.
No.
Like, I received a copy of the Tyler Clark one. And my only comment on that has to be that my parents taught me that arguing with a fool requires a second fool. Don't be one.
Interesting. Yes. That's really wise counsel.
I won't argue with what he's saying, but what I will do is say that 90% of it is not true. And I have city documents to prove it. He has nothing to prove his. So he can say what he wants. Fools, it's a fool's paradise out there today in the media.
Mm-hmm.
We have all kinds of editorials acting as news. They're not news. They are editorials. They are the opinion of the individual writing the article. Well, where is the news? Is there any news out there other than what you guys do?
Yeah, and people point the finger at us and say we're biased and we're not real news and we don't get our facts straight and all the things. And really, honestly, just at the core of the desire of what we're doing here is to get to the bottom of things, which I think is what journalism actually should be. And what news is just asking questions and trying to get the answers for the people that you're doing it on behalf of other citizens. You're asking on behalf of what the regular citizen would want to know. You're asking on their behalf, and you're trying to reveal the answer to them. And I think, yeah, in that way, we are real news because we're just trying to find the real answers.
Yeah. And to me, it's sort of interesting in that I have questions a number of times in my weekly or in our weekly newsletter. Where are the ethics? And recently I discovered that the research community of the world is very concerned that integrity has replaced ethics. Well, integrity to what? If there are no ethics, what is your integrity to? Somebody's protocol of what they want you to do?
I always thought integrity was built on ethics.
Well, it should be.
Mm-hmm.
It should,
sure.
Ethics should be the foundation of integrity, but it hasn't become that. It's become, are they following protocol? In fact, I have it in writing from the Ethics Integrity Commissioner that the city followed protocol. Ethics do not come into it. That is in writing from the integrity, not this integrity commissioner, one of the previous ones. I have that in writing from him. I also have it from the ombudsman in writing.
Can you repeat? Yeah, can you repeat what they said in writing again?
Well, basically, the one from the integrity commissioner said that the council followed protocol. Ethics do not come into it. And the ombudsman, in responding to an issue I raised, said that, well, as long as they followed protocol, that's all he is entitled to comment on. Well, protocol can be bad and good. If protocol has no ethics backing it up, what are the public expecting from this council?
You know, China follows protocol.
Ethics?
China follows protocol, right? When they have
Absolutely.
They do, crimes against humanity. They're following their protocol, so nothing wrong there, right? If your protocol is to make concentration camps and put a particular kind of people in there and hold them hostage and treat them, all kinds of ways, and that's part of your protocol, well, nothing wrong. But you say, hey, wait a minute, there's the ethics of this is that people should be treated a certain way. And so your protocol should be built upon ethics and then follow that way, So again,
yes.
Yeah, you can see the problem with that statement.
Now, the research world, and I have a technical paper based on them that they have written, that they are very concerned about the lack of ethics, and they are trying to tie ethics to integrity to make their comments valuable to the public, because it will be based on ethical positions, not just integrity to a protocol.
Yeah, because you're supposed to make protocols based on ethics. You're supposed to make your policies based on kind of foundational truths that are to the benefit of everyone you're serving, kind of thing. And so not sneakily get around those types of things for other agendas and other purposes. And
at the same time, I have a paper from the internet. This stuff is all on the internet. Okay. I have a paper from a law professor at a university in the U.S. who has stated unequivocally that ethical politics is an oxymoron.
Nah. Well, it goes along with that joke. When do you know a politician's lying?
He opens his mouth.
When his lips are moving. Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So it goes along with that. This is hand in hand. So yeah. And again, but people, for some reason, they just think that a certain side of government is just godlike and can do no wrong. And then you see in the media that this particular administration can do no wrong. They campaigned on they're going to, go down and handle Trump and they're going to get a deal and elbows up. And then a year later, things aren't going that way, but the media isn't holding any of that accountable whatsoever. They're actually making excuses for all of the, the shortcomings and downfalls and missteps and everything. You wouldn't know anything's wrong. And then, but you have people thinking, oh, it's, even though we all know politicians lie for whatever reasons, politicians have lied in the past. They've lied. They're going to continue to lie. But some people they don't think for themselves. They don't look into it on their own. And that's what you have a problem with local politics and local media, because people think, oh, they would never lie. They can't lie.
Well, let's take just one current example. Mr. Carney and the Liberal Party have been so generous that they're going to give back part of the GST they collect to make our groceries more affordable. Well, how ridiculous is that? They charge the GST. It costs us 20% of whatever amount they collect. That's according to the Canada Revenue Agency. It costs 20% of what they collect in doing the collection. Okay? So that's still going to be there. And then they're going to give that back, some of that back, which will cost us even more to give it back. So why not just eliminate the GST on those articles?
Exactly.
That would save us a whole bunch of money, more than just the GST.
Well, let's go back to the campaign promise that Jean Chrétien made, 30 years ago or so, when he had his red book, was that? And he said he was going to eliminate the GST, and he won. Talking about politicians lying, he won based on that alone. And we still have, it's called an HST now. So maybe, he got rid of the GST. Now it's called HST. Okay.
Well, you don't have to go that far back. Carney won the election based on getting rid of the carbon tax on gasoline. Did he?
No.
Not at all.
He took the consumer part away and put it as industrial, which just keeps it the same. Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he didn't get rid of a penny. Our cost is still the same. It's just like, hidden.
Yeah. It's like the politicians are doing that shell game with issues, right? They got the shells on the table. Look, follow the shells. It's just but the taxes are always there. The agendas are always there. They always have their things they're moving forward, but they're playing these shell games with people to try and trick you into things. But as soon as you start thinking for yourself and getting some facts, you go, wait a minute here. What's going on? So you can't just take what you hear. You got to look into it yourself. You have to be informed, and there's nothing wrong with that. Now, you might find some negative things, and you got to have a little bit of a thick skin. However, it's better knowing than not knowing, and get informed if you're actually going to be part of the conversation rather than just name calling all the time. Yes. So I have this article. Go ahead.
Yeah, Bob is feeling a little bit left out of the conversation here, so he wants to say a couple words.
Go ahead, Bob.
All I got to say is I am not a politician, okay? I understand all walks of people. I understand what we need. And it's not I, but we who are going to do it. And like I said, there'll be no corruption with me, guaranteed. And one thing what we definitely need right away is an external audit, and not done by KPMG. And
so why would you say external audit not done by KPMG?
Because they've been in there for years and years and years. And whether it's me or whether it's anybody else who's running for mayor or council, I would definitely recommend that you push for this audit due to clearing your name moving forward down the road.
I can address the KPMG.
Yes.
Because I believe that lots of stuff is going to be coming out.
So would that be part of your campaigning then? That's part of your platform, that you would have a third party arm's length audit of the city?
Oh, it's a no-brainer.
Perfect. I think just on that alone, you might get tons of votes just on that alone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Tom has a few words again. Sorry, we're passing it back and forth.
Hey,
today,
don't worry about that. It's just some of the viewers.
Conversation.
Just some of the viewers with motion sickness, you might just affect them. But other than that, we're good.
Okay, just to comment on the KPMG thing, KPMG works for the city. Okay, and in their documentation of the audit, they accept the data from the city in making sure that it follows accounting protocol, and that's all they do in their audit. They do not do a holistic audit.
Now we're back to protocol again and not ethics, right? In this situation as well.
You've got that right on the money.
So if they see money going to nefarious people, let's say mafia or other, kind of shady characters, or they're seeing these types of anomalies, as an accountant, you just have to balance it. You just have to make sure this side matches that side. You don't have to. You're not a police officer kind of thing, right?
That's right. For example, if you do the audit just based on protocol, you get a situation like the KED, where one of the bidders on building the KED was also on the committee that was evaluating the bids, and that would have had the contract.
And that's a
But
conflict.
that's okay
And that's a conflict of interest if you're looking at it in an ethical way or integral way.
Oh yeah, but they were following protocol, so it didn't matter. Okay.
But yeah, you say it publicly, and everyone says, "Wait, there's a problem with that." Yes.
That's right. That's right. Now, we have a contractor as well who did a road resurfacing project. Part of it, they took him off the project for invalid reasons with a phony report. He is now having to sue through the court system to be allowed to complete that pilot contract.
Yeah.
Now, they followed protocol. They wrote a report that condemned him, and therefore they sent him home. And protocol was followed, but where's the ethics of not completing a pilot project to find out what the problems are?
So they'll just say, well, we followed protocol. Protocol says we need to write a report. Here's the report. So we did everything we needed to do. So we didn't do anything wrong.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. You got it right on, AJ.
Yeah. Meanwhile,
protocol.
Yeah, the things in the report, nobody's there to look at the report to make sure those things are factual or not. No one's saying, well, wait a minute.
That's right.
No, this isn't true. That isn't true. This is fabricated. This is a little bit, blown out of proportion or whatever. No one's there to audit.
Just to give you one simple example, they measured in the work he did, they measured the smoothness of the surface that he was laying down with a straight edge across the lane. Now, do you care how smooth it is across the lane when you're driving? If it's rough in the direction of the lane, then you'll have vibration in your vehicle. But if it's across the lane, you won't even notice it. Mm-hmm. On top of all that, their method, they used an aluminum bar, which is out of straight by factory standards by more than the allowance he was allowed to be out of smooth. And they measured how much from that he was out of smooth using a loonie and a quarter, not a gauge.
Yep.
And we're supposed to believe this. And this is why. Go ahead.
No, and again, are they doing this same analysis to their own road work, which I would already have the answer, an astounding no. If they were to do all those same procedures and analyze their own road work, you'd probably find worse analysis going on, right? So this is integrity. This is ethics. So when you're saying you're using a different measurement to say he's doing it wrong than you are on your own. And so if people were aware of that, they would say, well, that's not right. That's not right. But then the city can just go, no, we followed all the procedures and he didn't measure up according to this policy and that policy. And they can sound really, really authoritative. And, when people listen to that, they go, oh yeah, no, nothing to see here. It sounds like they did everything right, But if you question it and you really look at it, then you find these things.
Yes. Well, and not only did they use different measurements, they did the measurements incorrectly.
Ouch.
Yes. And the report is something else. My goodness, I've been in engineering for 60-some years. I've never seen as bad a report in my life.
How many people in this city do you think actually read that report other than you?
None.
right? So
None.
that tells you something. I haven't read it either, and I don't think most people, like you said, you're probably the only citizen who's read it. How many counselors do you think read that report?
None. They wouldn't even know what they were reading.
They're
No,
being
I
told,
expect
right? They're being
maybe-
told by the city bureaucracy and by the people who wrote the report what it means, and then they're taking that and they're saying, "Oh yeah, no, I got briefed by so and so in this such and such department. They told me everything's fine. They did a PowerPoint for me."
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. No, well, first of all, do any of them have the technical capability to understand what was in the report?
I would have to go out on a limb. I'd have to go way out on a limb on this and say no.
I don't think you're on a limb. I think you're on solid ground.
Yeah, exactly. And again, this is just, this is common speak. This is how you hear people just kind of talking when you start getting into this kind of thing. You just start unpacking stuff. Common sense starts seeping into the conversation. Intelligence starts, the smell of intelligence starts, coming around and just but they got to squash that. You got to squash this process that we're doing right now before it starts getting out of hand and people start understanding what's really going on, because then there's going to be, accountability. Ouch.
Yeah.
You can't have that.
Yes, and unfortunately, track record for our councils for the last 25 years has proven that we do not have people with the technical capabilities to question any of this. And it doesn't take technical questionability or capabilities. All it takes is, as you suggest, common sense. If it doesn't look right, if it doesn't sound right, it probably isn't right. Question it. And for this guy to come up here and do that road resurfacing and be a failure without even getting a chance to prove it on the full pilot project doesn't sound reasonable, does it? So if it isn't reasonable to condemn it based on that short thing, where, by the way, the existing road conditions weren't as advertised either. So if the conditions changed from what he was led to believe, why would he be condemned? So, who in council would know enough to question that stuff? Who's a road person on council?
We need people with real, integrity, backbones, the ability to stand up for something that's true. I don't know. Look, I was in the CFIB, which is the Canadian Federation of Independent Business. I was their regional manager for a time. And it's known that Sudbury is one of the hardest places, if not the hardest place in Canada to do business in. The hardest one to do business in. But you'd never know that when you listen to our politicians talk. We have openness and inclusivity, and we're going to start this, and we're going to do that. And this city is the most innovative city in the world. The emperor has no clothes. The country knows that things are wrong here. We can't do business here.
But you forgot a key component there, AJ.
Go ahead.
We have 3,000 experts on our payroll.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, look what that's doing. So again, right? So it's not a secret that Sudbury is a, we're not open for business. It's hard to do things, overregulated. There's so many, layers here. You try and come in and have an innovative thing like this paving machine, which is going to save the environment. It's going to do it quicker. It's going to save money. And then look what the city does with this. And then that's what happens when you try and do something like that in the city. The only university in the country that's ever gone bankrupt is Sudbury. The only OHL team that doesn't have a new arena, Sudbury, pothole capital of the world. Get a life and repent. Get a life and actually see what we're doing here and stop dead in your tracks and realize that things are not right. Things are not right. They haven't been right, and make them right. Period.
I'm glad you brought up the OHL team, because one thing that they've been good at, very good at, is since the turn of the century, 2001, the attendance of the games for that team have dropped from over 4,000 down to 3,300 on average game attendance. Okay. And that is exactly what PricewaterhouseCoopers predicted. It's what Brisbane Brook Bainin predicted. And it is surprisingly what city staff predicted. Now, where is the need for a 5,800 seat arena?
Build it and they will come. Build it and they will come, right?
We recently had a performance at Laurentian University by our Philharmonic with a guest performer, our mayor, playing the saxophone and the piano. And how many people did they have at that performance?
I do not know.
Well, I'll guarantee it was nowhere as close to 5,800. I will guarantee that. Now, all we have to do is find out what the attendance was at that event, and that's our major events. I mean, how much bigger attraction can you get than our mayor playing music?
Oh, I don't know. I could probably think of a bigger attraction than that, but I know what you mean. The problem to me, again, it's just the city, the way they do things. It's just not common sense. You're going to build this a wonderful arena, and I'm all for a new arena. Just do it the right way. So I'm all for that. No parking. No parking. So how are you? So you can't look the 3,300 average attendance, and there's no parking for them now. Let alone the extra people. Where are they going to park? Where are they going to park? The councils are saying there's plenty of parking along the sides of the streets and all the side streets and everything. Well, that doesn't work.
No. Just a minute. I have to straighten you out on something there. You're headed down the wrong road.
Oh, okay.
With the electric vehicle thing, by the time we get this arena built, only half of the public will be able to afford vehicles. Okay? Because they'll have to have an electric vehicle. And on top of that, they're going to compensate for that because they're making the transit system so that people without money won't be able to ride. Okay? They'll need to have a $600 or more cell phone in order to get a ticket on the bus. Well, I can't think of very many people who can afford $600 cell phone to ride a bus. Okay?
No, I saw that announcement, and I was thinking of all of our seniors now who may not be able to use an app.
But this opens up the transit system to be able to transport attendees for the event center, okay? Because now it's going to be a higher class transit system. You won't have the poor riding it. Like, the decisions they make are unbelievable. And the ethical...
They need to do a study on electric buses, how they operate on a pothole infested road. Like do they have longevity? Because let's just say they perform more poorly and it creates more mechanical problems with all the batteries and electrical systems pounding heavily on pothole infested roads. How is that going to work? So either they got to fix the infrastructure if they're going to bring in all these electric vehicles. We don't know how. We know they don't operate very well in the cold, and look how cold it's been this year. That's going to be interesting.
There's 3 Western cities who have parked their electric buses.
Exactly.
Because they can't reliably operate them in the cold. Talk to India or Philadelphia, I think it is, either that or Indianapolis, about what the electric vehicles did to their streets. Resurfacing their streets was on a 10-year cycle. It's been reduced to 3 years due to the heavy buses with the 7,000-pound extra battery carrying.
Batteries are way heavier for the vehicles. So, and you just compound that. If everyone's got an electric vehicle, then that just means there's even more weight with everyone driving their heavier trucks and cars and buses and you name it. I know it doesn't make any sense, and it's not going to make any more sense as these politicians just continue to move forward. As long as they're benefiting, as long as their pockets are getting lined, and as long as they're continuing in their positions, they don't seem to actually care about the rest of us, unfortunately. That's what I got to sum it up as. And unfortunately, we're out of time because we're already 1 minute over, just to let you know. So just give you a chance to say say goodbye to the folks, Bob and Tom, and then we're going to have to leave it there.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. And remember, people, we have crisis right across the city, and we're working on everything. And not I, but once again, we will do this. Thank you, AJ. You guys all take care.
Thank you, Bob and Tom, for being on today. And thank you, everyone, for listening and watching. Remember to stay aware, like, share, take care. We'll be back same time, same place, on the same platforms after the weekend on Monday. And remember to always question things. Always question. Think for yourself and try to have some integrity. It really feels good. Stay tuned now for Earshot Daily on CKLU 96.7 FM. Ciao for now.
This is Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.